Hello, everyone. Thank you very much to anybody who will join us and watch this live. Thank you very much. To anyone who will watch this later as a recorded interview, I also say thank you. Thank you to our guest of today, Loretta Oduware. Thank you very much for joining us and taking out of your unbelievably busy schedule.
Thank you. Anything for humanity.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's
And
really
well
nice to hear.
to you, Edewede, and your team for what you do. It's
Oh,
fantastic.
thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Today, we want to look at quite a widespread of topics, but I will start with one that is perhaps pressing for a number of people. Is COVID-19 a hoax?
You know what I like about this question is the very direct way you've just asked it. It's just like bang. That's the question. And I think you are reflecting what's been going on in the minds of many people as well. You've spoken for a lot of people. And if I answer you back in one big bang way, COVID-19 is not a hoax. This is my opinion based on the scientific evidence before us. Whatever has killed all these thousands of people cannot be a hoax. It is real, it's with us, it's here to stay. But because it is new, they've been using the word novel. Novel means new. So there's a lot about it that is yet to be completely understood. But to say it is a what or false, no, it's not.
Right. Now, both of us are from Nigeria. I don't want to make an assumption, but if I'm not correct, let me know.
I
We
am Nigerian from Benin City, Edo State.
all right. Uh, just to let the audience know, we happen to be from the same state, although I am not from Benin City. She's from the capital of our state, so brilliant. But we're very close when it comes to tribes and the same state anyway. We're from the same state. We follow potentially what NCDC says, although we are both sitting in Britain at the moment. We follow their updates to see what's going on. And even just checking now, there are people who are claiming that NCDC, the numbers it is putting out there are fake. This is fake. We can't believe it. It's not real. Now let's come back to where I first met you. We both attended an online webinar, I think just over a week ago, and you were asked a question, and that's how I met you. And I thought I really need to reach out to you. The question was around a certain group of people in Britain who appear to be more affected by COVID-19. So they were dying in proportionately higher numbers. So anybody in Nigeria looking at that piece of news, if they happen to, will say, well, if they are dying over there, we are not dying over here. Sorry, can you make sense of this? I don't want to say this nonsense because it is not nonsense. It's absolutely people are concerned.
No, it is not nonsense. In fact, I am also a teacher. So for every teacher, there is no question or no subject that is nonsense.
I'm back in school. Oh God.
We are lifelong learners, all of us. Everybody. In fact, the moment you think you've learned it all, then there's a problem. So there's nothing that is nonsense. But like I said, this is a new virus. And it is emerging. When I say emerging, we are seeing new dimensions to it every day. However, trends have come up. And one trend that has come up, like you rightly said on that webinar that day, the governor of Edo State was asked a question. Godwin Obaseki was asked that, why is it that people are dying a lot more? People of Black and ethnic minorities seem to be dying a lot more in other countries like the UK and the US. And the expected dying rates in Nigeria is not the same as projected. Could there be something protecting them in Nigeria? I think that was the question. And the governor humbly said, because he's a lifelong learner, he humbly said, this is above my pay grade, I'll let the experts handle. Now, I answered that question that day, and I'll answer it here again and throw some light on it. I don't believe that we should do anything without evidence-based, because as a scientist and a researcher, we work with evidence. We found over here that if you are Black and ethnic minority, you are 4 times 4 times more likely to come to a fatality from COVID-19 infection. Now, the question that then presents itself is why? Furthermore, there was a projected curve for this virus in different countries. And there was a projected curve for the African continent and African countries. However, the number of deaths projected in that curve is not what we are seeing. It's a bit less. So the questions people are asking is, why? Now, I'll tell us that because this illness is evolving, a lot of what is being found now is still subject to a whole lot of research. And this is where both people on either side of the divide need to do proper research, eliminate all confounding and bias, and then present their work. That in itself will take some time. But so far, I'm going to delve into what people have attributed is the cause for the differences in this divide. And I will state here and now that what I am saying are things that are still subject to research. So if you leave here and you start quoting me, remember that I have told you that all of this is still subject to research. One, on this side of the divide now, let's take UK, for example, because I happen to study the interventions across different nations, the pathway they took. Let's take UK, for example, and let's see what happened. What happened is that generally, compared to other countries, our lockdown in the UK did not start on time. And then, if you go into population, especially if you now narrow it down to the health provider niche, you will find out that there is a subset of that population who over time have, in quotes, default, become daredevils just to prove themselves. And when I say daredevils, they have over time needed to work 10 times as hard to get that accolade, which is truly theirs. And I'm talking of the Black and ethnic minority. So you come to a place where your default mode over time to achieve what you have achieved is to actually work doubly hard. We'll keep that to the side. Hold that thought for a moment. And then you are also from a social cultural background where you have to also work extra hard to provide for many people back home. So not just yourself, okay? Because the low-income economy nations are very dependent on those who have migrated out, make a lot of remittances to our home countries, be it from India, wherever you are from, you find out that those in the high-income countries work doubly hard. And if you work doubly hard, especially on the clinical work front, it means your exposure rate is higher. So in effect, what I'm saying is that by default mode, you've always given it your best. And then secondly, there's a social cultural push for you to make more money. So you take on more shifts. These are not even for yourself. Thirdly, you come from a background where you are more likely to improvise, and then just by virtue of you being in the minority, compromise. So in the early stages, we found that on wards and working area where PPE was not adequate, you found out that the Black and ethnic minority compromised more. They took on more shifts and they worked with low standard or no PPE. Because either they were scared of the system that they will be knocked out because they're in the minority, or it's just their own way of having been raised back home. So that actually put them right out there in terms of exposure. Now, people have also argued that they have a lot of comorbidities. Some of them not declared. So maybe hypertension, diabetes, obesity, and all of those things. And we know that COVID-19, even though it's not a death sentence, once it has taking hold and is taking over the immune system, those who have comorbidities are more likely to be hit. Now, if you combine that effect of comorbidity and increased exposure, that's double whammy. So it is not rocket science anymore to now realize that the Black and ethnic minority, especially in the healthcare front, had a compromise that set the stage for the deaths we saw. In a situation like America, it's a tad different because the Black and ethnic minority has always been living below poverty in those places. They pay for their healthcare system. Their healthcare system is very expensive. They are less likely to have insurance. So you found out that these were even the people that were less likely to be healthy to start with. And COVID-19 just exposed the inequalities. Even in the United Kingdom, it still exposed the inequality. And people were dying. Now, fast forward to Nigeria. Why is the curve not like that? Why is it not happening in Kenya? Why is it? People have attributed it to different things. Some have said, is it the temperature at which the virus proliferates? Others have said, is it because people have residual levels of chloroquine in their blood system? A third group have hypothesized that the patches where this curve is not as projected, they have had BCGs. Could it be that? And yet another group of people have explained that the humidity in Africa is very high. That means the water in the atmosphere is very high. So if you splatter viruses into the atmosphere, it means that they will get heavy and drop nearer you. But if the humidity is low, then it will float. I don't know if you understand. This is quite scientific. People have postulated that as well.
Okay.
So it is a whole hog of factors. Another group of people have attributed it to the very organic diets of people living on the continent. So
Can I just say one group? One group has talked about the vitamin D availability, so we're exposed, more exposed.
We are more exposed to sunshine as well. You are right. And here they said that when we come in here, because of the melanin and then the reduced sunlight, become vitamin D deficient. Whereas on the continent, loads of sunshine. And then they've attributed it to the organic food as well. But I think whatever these things have been attributed to, there are formal pathways for research and investigation. What I expect us on the African continent to be doing, and this is why I said at that webinar that day, and government to be doing, our professors, we have researchers in our university. So these people should come together. As I'm sat here now, I can easily develop a research study for this kind of thing. And let's look at it in our own environment. Let's own our narrative, either on the continent or even here in the UK. Let us begin to speak out. And I'm really proud of people who are speaking out, because now many hospitals are doing risk assessment for their BMAE staff and all of that. So these things are all there, but it needs further research.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Absolutely a brilliant response. You've taken us on a wide range, from beginning to end. What number of possibilities there could be for what is happening, because the discrepancy is so great, and you can almost dismiss it. If you're looking at it in a way, you can say, "Oh, please stop complaining. People are not dying elsewhere," But this is very good when you hear the facts and the research.
What I always say and I emphasize is we should not be careless. We should not be careless. Diseases have what you call the social-cultural drivers. So we should look at our own environment and see what are our demographics like. It's important to also note that Nigeria has a young population. Most African countries have a young population, whereas European countries have an aging population. Okay, so if COVID-19 were to take root in people with more comorbidities, it would be the older people. But we have a younger population. It is not to say it doesn't affect young people. We've seen it affect young people. But that in itself could be a confounding that is causing the reason why it's not progressing the way it was projected on the African continent.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Leading on from what you've just said, you are a wealth of knowledge in this area. What is the importance of reliable sources of information in times of crisis, for example, during a pandemic?
So you've taken me into my research background now, because I studied public health research at the University of Edinburgh. And I remember one of my professors then told us something. He said, give a full SPSS, which is a package for analyzing data, and they will give you a result. The question is, do you understand your data? Do you look at it properly without bias to understand it? And then he asked us, why do you think we should do that? And we're all looking at him. He said, well, the singular reason is to save lives. To save lives. To improve lives. So if we had proper data, and we are very deficient in this on the continent, we don't really even understand what data does. We need to know that if we know the number of women, we have proper census, if we have proper occupational data for people, if we have all these figures, then we can look at what is happening and see a pattern. And that it is when you notice a pattern that you now investigate why this pattern. A practical example, I like to give examples. When healthcare workers started dying because of COVID-19, a pattern started emerging. Oh, 4 Africans have died, 3 Asians have died, 6, you know, and the question then was generated by this data. So imagine we didn't know, just to start with, the ethnicity of the people working. Imagine we didn't know how many men or women there were. We will not be able to interrogate, investigate the pattern we are seeing. So if you don't have data, we are most likely setting ourselves up to fail. And this has been the Achilles heel of most of our low-income resource nations. It is not, I don't think, I want to believe that those who have gone ahead of us as rulers of these nations have not understood that to make policies that are effective, you need to have proper data. Imagine how powerful it is if I came here and said, oh, women are dying from maternal mortality in Nigeria, so pregnant women are dying in Nigeria. Imagine, I just said that. It doesn't sink in. Yeah. So if I tell you that 600 women on an average die daily in Nigeria from pregnancy and pregnancy-related causes, then you're like, hey, wait a minute. What's happening here? Okay? Yeah. There is an outfit in the United Kingdom called MBBS. Every 3 years, they publish what is happening in the maternity sector. Recently, in their update, they used figures and they released it and said that Black women are 5 times, they put a caricature of 5 pregnant women and they put ×5, are 5 times more likely to die in pregnancy from pregnancy-related issues. And that is sinking in now that BMAE, Black and ethnic minority, the Asians are 3 times more likely to die. So that is sinking in now that, oh, we have to do something. But if we had just come and said, oh, more Black and ethnic minority die, no. So data is so important. And that's why most times I don't speak without it. You know, you need to know what's happening. But the problem has always been who gathers our data in this other country. How is it gathered? What are the sources? How is it stored? And even though we know the importance, and we've not always done it. Can we turn a new leaf? Can we start doing it? Which is why we're having these discussions.
Yes, yes, brilliant. Thank you. Hopefully, what you've said so far and anything else we will discuss beyond this point will spur action, even action in individuals, people taking responsibility, changing lifestyles, adjusting. Just to reiterate to anybody watching, we have 6 people watching us so far. The number's been, changing as we've gone on. That our guest for today speaks from 2 different perspectives, and what she said just now about maternity mortality rather, is based on information from a part of the United Kingdom and not Africa, Nigeria. So it's on us. Really, it's on us to encourage action and to carry out the action. It almost sounds as if we are saying that in parts of Africa, we don't really perhaps have a vitamin D deficiency, but there is a chance that we have a different D deficiency. That's a data deficiency. And a demonstration of that lack of data, I think, happened when there were reports coming out from Kano State. There was a lot of hysteria, and people were saying hundreds of people are dying in Kano State. It affected me, and I thought, seriously, is this the first time this has happened? Have hundreds of people been dying in Kano State per week, per month, per year? Is it around this time that they die? What do they die of? Is it because of coronavirus? You couldn't find the answers to these questions. It was just hundreds of people are dying in Kano State. Help, help, help. No death is acceptable. Death is regrettable. Let's put it that way, and painful. But please shed some light on, how did that make you feel when you heard about it? What's your response?
So when I first heard about that, and then I actually wrote something about that because they tagged it the unexplained deaths happening in Kano State. And I said to myself, at this time with coronavirus, we say that the deaths are unexplained. So it made me to look again. And the NCDC in Nigeria is doing a fantastic job. Not because it's led by a friend I know, but because I know it's led by a man who has got capacity. Okay, Chikwe has capacity. And but we must realize that when you heard things like this, you work in a team. And the team is oftentimes the team that has been on ground. What is their capacity? Nigeria is a huge country, and we have different socio-cultural norms. So Kano State is an example of how your socio-cultural norm can affect diseases and how data collection can become poor because of your own socio-cultural norms. So Kano is predominantly Muslim, Islamic area of Nigeria, and that's fine. We also know that when people die in Islam, you don't wait, you bury them immediately.
Yeah.
So socio-culturally, when this first group of deaths were happening, they were just following their own norm and burying these people without investigating. There was no data. It was when people screamed out and said, we've dug 50 graves in 2 days. What's happening? That is when people now started thinking, oh, wait, hold on a minute. What's happening here? And for a long time, the governor then came out and said, oh, they've done their investigation. It doesn't appear to be linked to COVID as at that time. Only for him to come back a few weeks later and then backtrack on that. So I will not deceive us at all. Data collection was inadequate in that case. And we can see, if we are honest with ourselves, the reason why. There was a social-cultural practice that glitched on that data. And then there were political interests that also caused that. If you want to collect data, even as a researcher, there's what they call research ethics. You must collect it honestly and truthfully without bias. But we find that in most cases, people want to skew data for whatever reason. And that is not good. Not just for you, but for the masses, for your generation yet unborn. That may come back and hurt us. So it's high time we put our acts together. And without wanting to sound, at the risk of sounding like I'm blaming a subset of a certain country, I think that we actually owe it to ourselves and our own children to know that we are more useful to our generation alive. And we should take action that would help us preserve our people and preserve our generation. You cannot be a governor and you do not enable, look at my words, enable the process for proper data collection in a situation such as this. You cannot also be a governor and not want to investigate if there are any protective factors or if there are any factors that make you more susceptible to a certain illness. It is a moral and even legal responsibility because lives are resting on you. So Kano State leaves a lot to be demanded.
Yes, thank you so much for that. It was really painful, you know, and the word unexplained. I mean, at a time like this, you're just causing panic for everybody. So, you know, thank you very much. You've taken us nicely to our next topic, the topic around designing. So, requirements for designing smart healthcare strategies. I think you've already talked about data. You talked about leadership. Do you have any ideas around this topic, or those are two key ideas?
So healthcare planning and smart healthcare practices is not, if I'm allowed to use my local parlance, it's not being. It has to be strategic.
Okay.
You have to be strategic. You have to first of all have these measurable indices. You want to achieve it within a certain time frame. You want to be able to then audit your processes. And if we go with the conventional acronym SMART, you have it, we all know that. But I think what makes healthcare a bit is a bit more I'm looking for the word. It's not as straightforward as a business. Okay, so I could just say, oh, for a business, I want to do my SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threat, and all of that, and have my SMART objectives. And because this affects the lives of people, and because there are a lot of things that influence health, when you are formulating any healthcare intervention, the first and most important thing is to give the people a say and ownership. So if the people don't perceive that they have a say and an ownership in a venture, they will not engage. So
in a country like Nigeria, I'm not trying to play down my country. I will never do that, you know. Well, you know, because I absolutely appreciate my country. However, talking about people's opinions in a country like Nigeria,
no, there are things we call community entry points when you do health advocacy and all of those things. So it means that there are core people who are influencers in our community. We have our traditional rulers. We have our titled men and women. These days, you even have social media influencers.
influencers, yeah.
So what we are saying is, first of all, you must go there and with these people, determine the burden. So is there a problem here? Let's take Lassa fever, for instance. Okay, we know that at certain times of the year there is an upsurge of Lassa fever. So let's take a community. I don't want to mention any names. So maybe community A, and maybe I'm the minister for health. I want to formulate an intervention. So I must go. I know where it's more rampant. I must go there and discuss with them. Do you even know that this is happening? And then I must present the data. You see, we come back to that data. Do you know that 30 of your community people died in this hospital, A, B, C, and D? over the last 3 months. They will not say, ah, really, this is happening. Then you now say, if you now know that this is happening, how can we tackle it? What do you do that causes this? Well, they may now say, ah, every July we do bush burning, and when we do bush burning, the rats run into the houses, the environments are not clean. Then you now explain to them the pathway of the disease, and we must take out something in that pathway and cause a break in the life cycle of that disease. So you can then tell them, ah, if every July when you clear the bushes, the rats will run into the houses, why don't we first make sure that everybody knows the use of having, one, proper secured doors? We'll make sure our windows are very well done. Then why don't we think of even killing the rats first before we set fire to the bushes? Why don't we think of fumigating first before we burn? Why don't we think? And then when you do these things with them, they now think, okay, where do you store your gari that you are taking to the market? We used to store them outside in a shed. Why don't we now build closed enclosures for them? Then you then get your action points from it. And these are the ones you are now going to implement. You then get a time frame for your implementation. And obviously, you are now going to have times when you are going to audit your implementation. So you are going to have indices. So if you say, we are going to, one of the indexes that we want to see how many people will die next year, or how many people who are farmers now have an enclosure for storage of their farm produce like gari. How many people are now understanding that we should have proper sanitation? So therefore, there's soap and water in front of their houses. So when you count, last year it was 10. Oh, this year is now 20. That's an improvement. Then you now go and say, chief, this year 20 people built an enclosure. 10 people now wash their hand every day. And the Lassa fever death has reduced from 30 to 20. Even the chief will be happy. So there's a way you manage healthcare. It's not, you must bring in those areas of clinical governance, excellence, and all that, but you must domesticate it. I cannot take a method that works in Britain and ship it home and want to implement it. That is safari research and safari intervention. I have always said that it is Nigerians who will change Nigeria for Nigerians. But that doesn't mean that you will not look at what other people are doing and look at your own social, cultural, economic milieu and then adapt it to what you can do to make a difference. So I'm just giving you a small idea of how you can get the people to own a project and engage. Nigerians are very engaging. Our rulers, let me use the word rulers, not leaders, are the ones who have not actually found a way, a Nigerian way to engage Nigerians, because it takes time, energy, will, and sacrifice. And we don't have people who will make that sacrifice.
Okay, you have taken us to the next point on our agenda. We have a topic here around copy and paste healthcare models. So I said why copy and paste health models may do more harm than good. But I think you have basically addressed that point swiftly.
Let's use COVID-19 as an example. When I did my research, when I went to Edinburgh, when I got into Edinburgh, the first thing I told them is, look, I am not here to do your research. I have mine I want to do, and I'm going back to Nigeria to do it. There was a lot of resistance, but with a lot of sacrifice and perseverance, that was what happened. I did my dissertation on post-abortion complications in southern Nigeria, and I went back to do it at home. Same thing when I did my master's in clinical education. And same thing now I'm doing my PhD. I told them I want to investigate trafficking and contemporary slavery. And that is what I'm doing. I have never been a fan of safari research because you can never cut and paste. Our social, cultural, and other demographics are different. COVID-19 example comes readily to mind. Look across the nations of the world. Some people initiated utter containment, like China. But they've always had a regimented lifestyle. They are like the military. If you say go, they go. If you say come, they come. That will not work in Britain like that. And then even places like Sweden, they didn't quite, they were doing what, whether we like it or not, they were doing what we call herd immunity. And some say it may have worked for them, others say it has not. Now, our dilemma in Nigeria, we said lockdown, we locked down. But you see, you have to be rich in Nigeria to lock down. And then let us think carefully. If you, your wife, and 4 children live in one room, which is often the case, face me, I face, and then we lock you all down in that one room, are we really socially distant in that one room? No. You find that people in Nigeria, ironically, are even more socially distant when they are on the street. So what I expected was in the first 2 weeks of that lockdown, that our eggheads, our professionals and researchers will come to a table with major stakeholders from the community and find our own way of managing COVID-19. First of all, is there running potable water?
Yeah.
Are we having more sanitizer production industries and factories? Is there evidence for face masks? Can we say all Nigerians go out with face masks? Our hospitals equipped in terms of even the doctors after their consultation, is there running water? In our market, what is the sanitary condition? Is there proper toilet facilities for these women and men there? Is there running water? And then most importantly, our awareness drive in our local languages. Have we done it? In Pidgin English, have we done it? You know, you cannot lock down a man who does daily living. So you go out, you're a conductor. The money you bring is the money you use to eat. You can't compare it to someone who is in America who will earn benefits. So we need to domesticate our interventions. And please, today I will say it and say it without apologies. I do not think that any nation should cut and paste interventions from any other place, more so my nation. If we've always done it, my home nation now, not my adopted one, if we've always done it, then we should stop it. And there is something about the African continent. It's a sore topic. But even as we shout Black Lives Matter, many of us still have a colonial mentality. So if Loretta or Oduware comes now and says, we think this is the solution within our community, people will look and say, what is she talking about? But if a white-skinned man comes to say it, people will believe this is the reality. This is the reality. So we need an overhauling of our mindset. I'm not talking of paper degrees now. I'm not talking of, we need after all, we were those kingdoms and countries that conquered others. The first library was in the African continent. So we should go back to our roots, understand our identity, and move with that, and not swallow the things other people throw at us. We should write our own narrative and use our own narrative for our own people. Nobody loves us more than we love ourselves. Any aid you are giving in front is being collected with left hand at the back. So we should all realize that.
Okay. You talked about the effects of or shall we say, the policies that were put in place for Nigerians when COVID-19 apparently hit the country. Because we cannot really say when specifically it actually started to affect the whole country, but people were told to lock down. You talked about the discrepancies, how some could lock down easily, could wash their hands in the running taps, some were having difficulties. I want to talk about the subject of who is deserving of who has the right basically to a healthcare system. What is a healthcare system to start with. When I hear people say the African healthcare system is weak, I think, well, what do you even mean by the African healthcare system? And then who has the right to live? Is it those who can afford to pay, or those who can afford to get sympathy from their community and people around them? Maybe they have uncles who are wealthy, family members who can help. Uh, it's all a bit of a blur. People referring to Africa based on the lives they have in other countries and using the expression healthcare system. What does that even mean? Because growing up there, I know you pay for your healthcare. That means there are those who, if they cannot pay, it's over for them.
A system is something that is made up of many units, and then we form a whole. So when they say systems, they are referring to the institutions in place, the pathway of achieving optimal healthcare. So the question is, across the world, people have adopted different methods and modules of giving healthcare to their people and improving their quality of life. In NHS, you can point readily and say, oh, in Britain, you have the National Health Service. In Canada, they have a semi-mix. In America, they have a kind of capitalist one where you pay for health care. The truth is that, to everybody listening, I will state this and state it here. I studied healthcare systems, and there is no cheap, good healthcare. Someone somewhere must be picking the bill. Optimal healthcare is not cheap. The NHS in United Kingdom is run on your taxes, my taxes, and it's like taking from the community, gathering it in a pot to fund the healthcare. In America, we know how much healthcare insurance costs. We know that many people have even been excluded from proper healthcare because of this. The Canadian system sort of dovetails the British way and the American way halfway. So that seems to be optimal for some people. And Sweden is thought to have a fantastic healthcare model. But a lot of this is dependent on the social-cultural factors, the population, and the will of the leadership. Now, there's something that you said just now. You said, who deserves health? And I want to refer to a man I know. His name is Douglas Chukwuemeka Oko. He's a consultant neurosurgeon who trained in the United Kingdom of Nigerian origin. After training in the United Kingdom, he went back to Nigeria. And when he went back, he came up with a slogan. He said, the Nigerian, and he still says, the Nigerian patients are worth it. And the reason he came up with this was he said the other ending phrase for that slogan is that any of us can be a Nigerian patient at any time T. Nobody is insulated from being unwell at any time. The only thing is that we don't all get unwell at the same time. So to answer your question, every human being, it is a fundamental human right. You are deserving of good health care, proper and optimal health care. You are worth it. But we have problems in certain places. And if we say that the Nigerian patients are worth it, we don't need to look far. If we say that any of us can be patients at any time, we don't need to look far. There was a time the president's son had an accident in Nigeria. He could not be moved immediately. And I will tell you today on all authority that the definitive management for that young man was done in Nigeria by Nigerian doctors. And he only went for rehab outside the country. A time comes when you cannot easily jump into a pressurized container and fly out of the country. COVID-19 has shown that to us. And secondly, I ask people, I've asked my friend before, I say, you are the CMD of a hospital. If you collapse now, can your hospital save you? This is a question we need to ask ourselves. God forbid our president collapsed now with something like maybe a Tobarak or something. Do you think we can fly him out? We've seen in COVID-19, top Nigerian politicians die. Nobody is immune. We need to get it into our skull. Nobody is immune. So the earlier we all sit down and do our work and realize that every human being is what optimal care, the better for us. None of us has the crystal ball to say, oh, this is when I will fall sick. Oh, I will never fall sick. I'm going to live to be 100. I don't know. I told someone one day, if they make me a president, the first thing I will do is build a state-of-the-art hospital that will save me when I'm not well. That is the first thing I will do. Honestly, I will so build the hospital. It will have everything. There's no use you stealing money and stashing it in Switzerland. It's of no use to you. If you build a hospital that can cater for your people, you leave your legacies behind. And you also save yourself. Because you may not know, you may be the first person that hospital will save. So please, let us take something away. Everybody, every Nigerian, every Kenyan, every Briton is deserving of optimal healthcare, because I have never seen yellow blood, pink blood, or blue blood. We all have the same red blood as human beings. We all have a shared humanity. And to me, that is the true religion.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Our guest for today is she's an obstetrician, she's a gynecologist, a clinical educationist, a medical simulation trainer. She's a women and youth advocate, a motivational blogger, and she is an author. So even though I would like to delve deeper into what you just said about who are those who are deserving of healthcare and ask a question about who should pay for it, speaking around Africa as a continent, let's
quickly talk about that, because who should pay for healthcare? I told you it's not cheap. I think that the model we have in Nigeria, the NHIS, is perfect. The problem we have is implementation. Most African countries, they have these things in place. Implementation, the will to implement these things is the problem. It is not that we have so many things in place. The NHIS is perfect on paper. On paper. But implementing it has become a problem. It has become an albatross. And that is what we always see. So healthcare is not cheap. So you need something that is going to cushion that thing when it comes. And that is what the NHIS in Nigeria is all about. But who is implementing it properly? What is the optic of this in our different communities? And why? And if you think properly, we've not even engaged our people properly. The market woman does not even know what NHIS means yet. We need to go out there and engage our people and find a way to engage them. Find a way to engage them. Our own ways of engaging our people is unique to us.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for addressing that point, because it was niggling. I'd like to raise it later. Okay. But can we talk about your book before we continue with the rest of the interview? We have about 12 minutes left, which is a real shame, because I would have loved to talk to you for even longer.
Yes, I have this book. I wrote My Father's Daughter. I think I have a copy before me here. This is author copy, so there is a band that says not for sale.
Oh, okay.
But it's on Amazon, it's on Okada Books, it's everywhere. And what made me write this book is because I believe I was fortunate in life to have been raised by a man who told me that I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and that there is nothing I cannot do if I set my mind to it. Every day he would wake up and just tell me and my siblings, look at how beautiful you people are. You were just made to lead your generation. And whether we like it or not, it's talk. Let me give you a practical example from the book, an excerpt. There was a day my mom, bless her, is one of the most intelligent women around, you know. I'm very focused. The traditional African woman. She was the last wife of my dad, and they were not all in the house at the same time, all these women. So she was the baby wife who stayed with him in his old age, and then she gave birth to us. So she was like 30 years younger than my father. And there was this huge divide in age, educational status, a lot of dichotomy. But what happened is that there was a day my mother said, go and boil yam to make pounded yam. And I went there, and being a very good and hardworking child, I cut this yam off, put it in pot, put it on fire, and put salt into it. And then my mother came and said, is the yam on fire? I said, oh yes, it's on fire. Did you put salt in it? I said, yes, I put salt in it to help it taste good. And my mother went ballistic. She called on all her ancestors. She was like, how? What kind of child am I raising? And then she started looking for me just to make sure I get a little beating that day. And then she said, nobody's going to marry you. You keep sitting down and reading and reading. Nobody wants a wife who will cover the pot with a certificate.
Oh, gosh.
And my father came and said, stop this woman. Stop it. Don't say that to my daughter. And she just left that day, because once my father speaks, my father doesn't, she just went about her business. And then my father said, come here. What is happening? I said, mommy said I should boil yam and I put salt. And my father then said to my mom, don't worry, I won't eat pounded yam again, I'll eat boiled yam. And my mother said, he then asked me, he said, so do you know why she's upset that you put that salt? I said, Daddy, I don't know. She didn't tell me. She just started calling all her ancestors and wanted to lift me by my ear, which was our usual handle. So my father sat me down and gave me a good lesson in domestic chemistry. He said, salt has got ionic bonds. When you put it in that yam, it's going to break them off. It won't be sticky when you pound it. And it will not come out nicely the way the African people love it, the way your Nigerian Edo people love it. And I said, oh, Daddy, that's true. It's sodium chloride. Ah, now I understand. And next time, I now knew I shouldn't do that. So you can see the way the man raised me. And he told my mother that day, said, look, I am not raising a woman who will come and be cooking away for a man. That's not why I'm bringing my daughter into this world. But if my daughter eventually in life finds a man who pleases her and wants to cook for that man every day of her life and twice on Sunday, that's okay. But she's not primarily being raised as a cook for one man. And my mother said, oh, you are spoiling this child. But today, I am glad I am married to a man who is my friend, who understands me and who lets me fly. He doesn't just see me as a cook. He sees me as a partner. He sees me as his equal. And he lets me do my thing and be myself, despite all my imperfections and all his imperfections. So I think I haven't had a dad who raised me to know that I should love myself and I should be able to take my world by storm. I decided to share this experience with the world. So some people have called this book a parenting manual. Others have said my father's daughter is a mentoring guide. And another person the other day just called it a life map. But wherever you stand, whatever continent, and ironically, my British friends have bought this book more than my my home country people, because they really love what is there. But however, whatever you want to call it, I think it's a book you should have. It's a lovely present for Father's Day from fathers to their daughters. And even somebody called me and said, I have changed the way I deal with my staff in the office after reading your book.
That's interesting. Thank you very much for that, telling us a little bit about your history. I think a number of us have similar cooking stories that we will not tell at the moment. People will laugh when they hear our stories. But thank you, and thanks for the introduction and the background information about your book. So that's fantastic. Everybody, our guest for today authored the book titled My Father's Daughter. You can find it, as she said, on Okada Books and on Amazon. Just Google the book, look up the name of our guest for today as well, and you'll most likely find the book. It has been interesting talking to you so far. There are quite a number of topics that I would love to cover. You talked about the importance of telling our own story. I just want us to maybe talk more about that subject, because we've been called emerging nations. I'm focusing now on us as Africans in Africa. Emerging nations. First of all, underdeveloped, then developing. You know, some of us are even saying we've been developing since the 80s. When are we going to finish developing? So this caterpillar is turning into a butterfly. Are we aware that we are the ones who should be doing the labeling of certain things to do with Africans, telling the stories, providing the information, doing the research? You've talked about this before, but let's talk a little bit more about that topic.
I was at a conference, an e-conference, 2 days ago, and I was one of their keynote speakers, and I was talking about, the title of my talk was Owning Your Narrative. You have to know where you are coming from to know where you are going to. You have to know who you are so that you will know that I am not anybody's stooge. I went to that conference and told them, it was a university conference, I told them that, look, in the 1500s, Oba Esige of Benin was doing business with the Portuguese. Google it online, you will see pictures where the Portuguese people came and they were bowing before the Oba of Benin. Now, the same thing with the Ashanti tribe in Ghana. The same thing when you go up, Mansa Musa. You know, these are great names. This is not by coincidence, okay? But what has happened is that we have had an era where people have systematically come to upstage your own importance and reduce how much value you place on yourself. And I gave a practical example. And I'll say this here again because I'm very emotional and passionate about this. You see, you cannot come to my house, take my furniture, tell me it is bad and barbaric, burn a lot of it, destroy me, and then take my furniture to your house, place it in strategic locations, and get me to come and pay and the world to come and pay to see what belongs to me. The colonial people came to Benin, for instance, take all our ivory, take our bronze, and we see them in British Museum, and we pay to see them. You see, I tell people, you must own your narrative. You must know where you are coming from. That gives you the confidence to know where you are going to. And then you then understand that I have to present my narrative. Other people then need to take it from there. If you don't present your own narrative, nobody's going to present it for you. If you don't first know where you are coming from, then you don't have that confidence to move forward. I would tell everybody watching this, there is nowhere in the world I will go to that anybody or anything can make me feel inferior. But that doesn't mean I'm a proud person. It just means that I know who I am. I own my narrative. I know where I'm coming from. And I do not use the words developed and underdeveloped nations. I don't use those words because development is relative. You come onto our continent and you see the way we look after our aged. You see our community bond. To me, that is development. And we don't have that in so-called developed nations. So you find that I stick to words like economic resource nations, better economic resource nations, and low economic resource nations. Because development in itself is relative. So please, let us push our narrative. It rests on us. It rests on us. Nobody will do it for us. Marlene Bart Williams gave a talk she called Charity. And in that talk, she said that Africa does not need aid. And there's another one, Dead Aid by Dambisa Moyo. And I'm of the same opinion. We don't need anybody's aid. Africa is by far one of the richest continents on this planet. Being depleted because we let others do it. We need to rise up and take what belongs to us and change that narrative. Nobody's going to do it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, that's something that's really, really important to me as a subject, the use of labels. Because when you turn up in a country outside of Africa, let me not be specific to any particular country, you start to hear labels that you are expected to know about and accept. And I sit back and say, well, that label, that description doesn't apply to me, and I'm an African, but you keep expecting me to just accept it. So I absolutely align with you on that way of thinking about yourself.
We
You
need
are
to educate these people as well. Some of them are ignorant. Don't think because I'm white skinned I automatically have brain power. No, we need to, and that education falls on us. Some of us don't educate these people. My colleagues at work, I sit down and educate them, and they say, "Oh, really? We didn't know this. We didn't know this." If you let other people direct your movie, then you're going to act something that is not you.
That's critical. Thank you very much for mentioning that. That's really important because instead of rejecting the labels,
I think we have a technology glitch.
hello, I am terribly sorry. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you very well.
Okay, let me
The
try.
audio.
Hello, hello. Let me try and speak clearly. Give me 1 second, please. Hello, hello, hello,
I hope it's
hello.
not from my side.
No, 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 no. It's from my. Still can't hear me.
I think it's from your side.
Yes, yes, yes. Can you hear me? Hello.
No,
I am terribly sorry. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I can
I
hear
will
you, but it's very
disconnect.
low.
Let me disconnect and reconnect. Hello. Hi. I'm sure you can hear me now.
It's still very low.
Oh, I'm going to try and shout. I don't really know what else to do. I was just thanking you for what you for the last point that you made around the use of labels. I'm really sorry that I got disconnected, but I'm glad that we've been able to reconnect. Thank you so much for waiting as well. Thank you. Thanks to all those who are watching us live, everybody who is typing in comments. I'll just put more of the comments on the screen. Thank you. It's been quite interesting talking to you today. I think I've gained more than I thought I was going to gain, and I learned quite a lot from you. It's been quite inspiring as well. Yes, I think we will leave it at that for today. I look forward to more engagements, more interactions with you, because it's been really interesting. Sorry, anybody who is watching, in case it appears that I am shouting. It's just that my guests cannot hear me clearly, so I'm going to speak as loudly as possible. She has given us her time today. I think we have learned quite a lot, and she has kicked off the AFOR platform. I didn't tell her this, but she's actually our first guest. I look forward to future interviews with more guests, quite engaging guests as well. And people are commenting and thanking you for what you have shared with us today. It's been brilliant. I hope to be in the audience when you give more talks in future. I think you said you've already had 3 events so far today, so she's quite busy as a person. We're really glad that we were able to have you on today. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Well done.
All right.
Keep doing what
have
you
a good day. Thank you. Bye bye.